Rob.
Hello everyone, welcome to Rob's Rogues in the Batman universe. And I know what you're thinking, Rob, a Batman Arkham City figure? I've had this guy since almost the beginning of summer, going to a local comic book store that's not too far away from me. As you can see, there's different price tags here. And I got him dirt cheap. And I've got a pile of figures in my room that, or my review space rather, that I keep wanting to get to, and something new will come out, or I have something new to talk about, and I just constantly have this thing of like, oh, I want to review these. Some figures are almost a year old that I've had that are still in boxes, or I'm waiting for a specific thing to happen, then I'm going to review these things. So I was kind of cleaning up some stuff, and was actually playing Batman Arkham Origins, just kind of going through some challenge maps and thinking about playing Arkham City, and I started thinking about Deadshot here, that I have not reviewed this figure. I made a spot for him in my display case, and I thought, you know what, I really need to get this figure reviewed before the Arkham Knight figures start coming out, which is going to be happening pretty soon, which got me thinking about Arkham Knight, that we really haven't had a whole lot of Arkham Knight information come out recently. So as a way to kind of pacify some of that, I thought, you know what, now's a good chance to not only do a review for the channel, since I've been a little lax lately, getting some stuff up, and I can get some of the review space cleaned by getting to some of my figures. So we're taking a look at Series 4 collector action figure from DC Collectibles, Batman Arkham City. I think if you go back through my Arkham videos, I'm going to try and make a playlist of all my stuff so it's a little bit easier to go through. But when the Arkham Origins stuff was coming out, I think I said I was going to get that Deadshot, just because I like the look of that Deadshot, and I kind of stopped becoming a completist on some levels, that I felt I had to have every single figure from every single wave. You know, my collection would be huge and I'd be really broke, so I started thinking, as the waves started getting deeper, I kind of sat on some figures and thought, I'll wait and see if something else comes out or another version of the figure comes out, and sometimes waiting pays off. Arkham Origins came out and I thought, you know what, I really want that look of Deadshot. I liked him in Arkham Origins a little bit better. But then the TV show Arrow started showing, and this was kind of sort of how he looked. Now, granted, the Arkham Origins, or the Arkham City logo is not on there, but, you know, his face was more exposed and things like that. So I know with the Arkham video games, they take some liberties in character designs, and they may look a certain way because they're in Arkham or whatever the scenario might be. So sometimes it's good to just kind of sit back and wait and not buy the figures right as soon as they come out. Now, this is the preacher preaching to the choir here. There are some big cases where I feel like I have to have the figure right at release time. But sometimes waiting back a little bit, you know pretty much they're going to make a bazillion Batman. So rushing right out and having to have Batman right away, you know they're going to be making Batman figures. So sometimes I'll go out and buy the lesser figures early in the wave and wait and pick Batman up, and maybe he'll be a little bit cheaper. Or sometimes the flip happens. I'll get Batman and, you know, maybe Batman and Robin, and I'll wait on somebody like Deadshot and go, you know what, they're going to sit on Amazon, or they're going to sit on eBay, or they're going to sit, you know, at a comic book shop as a peg warmer, and they're going to start dropping in price, which is what happened here. So I was kind of prepared, ironically, to go to the comic book shop and spend the $20 on the Arkham Origins Deadshot, and my wife actually pointed this out. She's like, look, is this figure actually $4.99? If I can grab it here. I've got the figure kind of away from the camera. You can see the original price was $19.99, and then they dropped him to $9.99, $4.99. Now, I'm not going to say you're going to find every single figure like this, but Talia was also there, and I paid full price for her and full price for Nightwing. So Nightwing, Deadshot, and Talia at one of my local comic book shops were $4.99. Now, this is a steal in my book. So I could have spent the $20 on the Arkham Origins Deadshot, or spent $5 and got this Deadshot. And at the end of the day, I just wanted a representation of Deadshot. So sometimes money talks, and now that I have him, I really kind of like this version of Deadshot. I liked his part in the game. I wished it was longer, but at the same time, me saying that, it was a pain in the butt to try and figure out how to beat him. And then once I figured it out, it was really easy. But that first initial run through was really kind of hard. Now that I've set him back up here, let's take a look at the rest of the wave. Now, of course, there's Deadshot. I already have Talia. I have Nightwing. And this Batman I do not have. This is the over-articulated Batman. And at the end of the day, this was a figure I chose to pass on. Not because I don't like it or anything like that. It's just another version. This would be version 4 of Batman from the Arkham City line. That had this come out, I wouldn't have bought Wave 3. I bought the detective version Batman. Now kind of looking at it, I'm like, that was a waste of $20. I didn't absolutely need that figure. But other than the accessory here, which I think was really kind of cool, the Batarang that kind of collapses a little bit, I thought I don't need almost an exact Batman. Yes, I can get him in some dynamic poses and things like that. But at the end of the day, I thought, you know what, I was just going to pass on this. What I had been doing for the Arkham figures that I had reviewed previously on the channel, since there was no bio on there, I was going to use the Batman Arkham, I almost said Origins, Arkham City Strategy Guide to read the bio. So let's go do that real quick in case you don't exactly know who Deadshot is, or you only know him from the Arrow TV series. Here's what Deadshot is like in the Batman Arkham universe. Now we see from inside the strategy guide, his name is Deadshot. Real name is Floyd Lawton, and some information on him. Hair color is brown. His eye is blue. So he kind of only uses one eye unless you're watching the Arrow show. His height is 6 foot 1 inch, and he clocks in 193 pounds, if you care to know that. And it's kind of hard to get all this in frame here. If you don't want to hear me read it, you can pause it right now. But we'll read it anyway. He never misses a shot, especially with his pair of silenced wrist-mounted 9mm cannons. Deadshot disdains himself almost as much as his corrupt targets. Several prisoner psychologists have diagnosed him with suicidal tendencies. Batman is the only person that has made Deadshot miss, a distinction that puts the Dark Knight at the top of Deadshot's hit list. If Deadshot starts killing anyone in Gotham City, Batman can use his tools and scan for clues through a gifted sniper. Deadshot can't clean up a crime scene perfectly every time. So there, I kind of botched some of that. But that is the read-up on Deadshot, since it does not come with one on the back of the card. So we'll get Deadshot out of package, and we'll be right back to review this very sweet deal that I picked him up for $5. We'll be right back. All right, here is the card that was on the back, just the image of Arkham City there. On the inside is the Titan Joker. I did not pick this up. Granted, it's like a $60 to $80 figure, and wasn't one that I absolutely felt that I needed. So if I saw him really cheap, I think I would buy him, but this is going to be a pass for me. And then the Arkham City Harley Quinn statue. Again, as much as I love the Arkham City video game series, and I'm buying a lot of the figures, I haven't got into statues too much. I would like to get some statues, but some of them I go, oh, they're so expensive. I could buy 2 or 3 action figures for the price of a statue. Again, if I found her pretty cheap, I would, but I'm really kind of holding out for some Robin statues. And this next year is Robin's 75th anniversary, so maybe I'll finally get lucky in the statue department. So here is Floyd Lawton, a.k.a. Deadshot, out of package. Let's get a closer look at our suspect. And a really nicely sculpted figure. Now that I have him out of package, and for starters, let me just say, these arms were completely stiff out of package. I could tell definitely that the elbow was supposed to bend there, but I really had to bend it. You could see where the swivel is right here, as I'm already talking about articulation. You could see how it kind of gaps right there. Trying to make that bend, I was afraid I was going to pop it off on both arms. But we'll get to the articulation in a second. And I like the bullseye, the Deadshot's, symbol there on top of the Arkham logo. So a little bit of a nod to his comic book being, colors being yellow and red. So he kind of had an Arkham jumpsuit made for himself. Just the look of the Arkham universe, I really, really liked. Let's move some of the extra light here just a little bit. They just crafted a really good game. He has a hood here, but it looks like he can apparently wear as well. But just the detailing and the way that they made it look leathery and looks kind of worn and dirty, especially in the yellow on his outfit. And even his guns here, they look a little bent, but should be able to straighten them out pretty good. Both of his 9mm guns look pretty good. This one looks like it's going to shoot his knuckle off, but they're nice and rubbery. So probably a little hot water will do the trick, but I think just monkeying with them just a little bit, I can get them to stay pretty straight. And not that you're really going to notice, but I think just doing what I did there a little bit really helps them out. So, and the face sculpt is really, really good. It's nice to have a figure that's not cross-eyed. Initially, I thought the lens was going to be kind of like a translucent type color. It looks like there's a little bit of glossiness into the paint, but that's all that it is. I thought it was going to be more translucent, like clear piece that they put in there, which would have been a lot of work. But just a little bit of glossy paint does give it a little bit of the reflection. So his eyepiece is done very well, and I like all the strapping and just the detail the DC Collectibles did on the Arkham figures overall has been really, really good. Even in the definition of his goatee, or his Van Dyke. This is actually a Van Dyke for people that want to know. So a goatee is only just the bottom portion, which is what I have. Not that you need to know that. Let's get to the figure. So now that I'm kind of twisting and turning him all around and such, his head is on a really good ball joint. So he looks down just enough and up. So he can go to a straight position. It doesn't go back really far, but it is nice that he can look down. Does tilt just a little bit, which is always an added plus to get a little bit more dynamic posability out of your figures. The arms are a nice ball joint, ball and socket, do rotate around full 360, come up to almost a complete 90-degree bend, which is pretty cool. He does swivel up at the bicep here, which is an interesting little choice, I guess, depending, that gives you more range of motion on his wrist, on how you want to put it. He does bend at the elbow, just slightly, doesn't come up to a 90-degree bend, but does come up enough. Kind of reminds me of Hush a little bit, but he has more range of Hush, or more range than what Hush does, if I can say that. He does turn at the forearm, so they made it really good that you can get his hand and arm in some pretty good poses here. So the 9mm guns are attached, they do not come off, so make sure that is true before I go saying that. Yep, they are pegged in there and glued. The legs go forward really good, so if there was an Arkham vehicle for this guy, he could sit in it very, very well, which was a pleasant surprise. There is no T-joint. This was kind of before DC Collectibles really started doing the overabundance in articulation. Bend that arm just a little bit. Single bend at the knee. He has a upper thigh swivel, which is pretty cool, and a boot swivel. So he has a surprisingly good amount of articulation for being a 2011 figure. I believe that's what he is. I'm looking at the back of the package as quickly as I can to not kill screen time. That's the age of the Arkham City video game, so this could have been 2012, probably at the latest, maybe going into the 2013 year. So what I'd like to do is bring up two other figures from this wave and kind of do some comparisons, and so you can see Deadshot with the Arkham City and the Arkham Origins Batman. All right, here is Talia, Deadshot, and Nightwing from the Series 4, if I'm happy. Yep, the Series 4. forgot what series this was. It's been so long. I do not have the Series 4 Batman, and again, it was one that I just decided I had enough Batmans from this line already. I did not need a fourth one. DC was always kind of like, well, we need to put a Batman in every single wave. I'm like, no, you don't need to. So I will bring up the Series 2 Batman so you can kind of see what he looks like with Deadshot in this wave. And this Batman looks really good with this particular wave. I think this is a really solid Batman from this line. It wasn't until the Arkham Origins line that I think we got an even better Batman than the Series 4 Batman that was in this line. So we'll do that real quick. We'll bring up the Series 4 Batman, or the Arkham Origins. See, I'm talking too much here. The Arkham Origins Series 1 Batman with this Deadshot, and see how they look together. This has been one of my favorite Batmans in my collection as far as the Arkham City figures go, and even probably Batmans in general. This Batman got a re-release for the 75th anniversary of Batman, where they repainted him in more of his normal Batman colors with the yellow belt here and darkened up the grays, and then the spots where it's lighter gray, they made it black in there, so it kind of has the more traditional Batman look. So it's really nice with this Arkham line that the figures do look cohesive enough that you could intermix any of the figures with themselves and it still works. Even if I brought up Nightwing here, this Nightwing works really well with this Batman. And currently on my shelf, the focal point of my shelf is this Batman, and then all the other figures kind of fade in and around. So I have the Nightwing basically how he is now with the Arkham City Robin over here, and this particular Batman is kind of in the background. So not that I don't like that figure as much. I just picked like my favorites and put them in the front, and that's how I did it. So it's kind of cool that this Arkham line you can really mix and match, and it still looks like a cohesive line. So, at the end of the day, I know this figure is pushing almost 4 years old now, or probably closer to 3 years old, depending on the exact date that he was released. But I think it's a really good addition to the collection. Now I'm talking about a figure that's been out for quite some time, and I'm sure that most people that have been collecting this Arkham line have already picked him up. If you haven't, and maybe you were thinking about getting the Origins figure like I did, I think I'm really kind of glad that I picked this guy up instead. Granted, price played a big factor in why I picked up one figure over the other. Granted, the Arkham Origins line of figures had just come out with that particular Deadshot. So I was kind of thinking, I was in the Arkham Origins mode, and I really wanted some more Arkham Origins figures, and the price spoke very well to my wallet that, hey, I can pick up a figure for $5, and if I don't necessarily like him, oh well. He was only $5. And this was a really good $5, and I think if I would have went back in time and picked him up for $19, I would have been as equally happy as I am right now. So as I'm looking at the figure, I hope I didn't miss an articulation. I do not think he bends at the waist or swivels at the waist. If he does, it is very well hidden. And watch me break the figure on camera. No, I don't think he does. So as I'm kind of looking at him, I'm going, wait, crap, did I miss one? So sometimes some of the articulation is hidden very well. So kudos to I about said Mattel. Woo, bad. DC Collectibles for that. So anyway, enough rambling. Today we've been taking a look at Series 4 from Batman Arkham City. I almost said Arkham Knight. Or Arkham Origins. The Deadshot figure. So if you haven't picked him up, chances are you can find him pretty cheap. I don't know if you're going to find him $5 cheap, but through probably some online places or Amazon, you should be able to pick this guy up somewhere around the neighborhood of maybe $10 to $12, maybe even cheaper, maybe $8, who knows. So thanks for watching, and we have more reviews coming up. And as always, this is Rob for Rob's Rogues and the Batman Universe signing off saying we will see you guys next time.